Welcome to Nightmare Fuel Stories. Echoes in the deep. I've been underwater for 47 days now. The Mariana Explorer, our research vessel, has been my home for nearly 7 weeks as we study the deepest place on Earth. I'm Dr. Marcus Lindholm, marine biologist and lead scientist on this expedition to document life in the Mariana Trench. When I was a child, I dreamed of exploring the ocean's deepest parts. Now I wish I'd chosen astronomy instead. The mission began with such promise. Our team of 8 researchers and 4 crew members departed from Guam with state-of-the-art equipment and boundless enthusiasm. The Mariana Explorer is a marvel of engineering, a 210-foot research vessel equipped with the most advanced deep-sea submersible ever created, the Abyss Seeker. The submersible can withstand the crushing pressure at 11,000 meters, has robotic sampling arms, high-definition cameras, and sonar mapping capabilities that would make any oceanographer weep with joy. For the first month, everything progressed according to plan. We mapped previously uncharted areas of the trench, collected specimens, and documented several new species. The team's morale was high, despite the isolation and confined quarters. Dr. Elena Vasquez, our microbiologist, discovered a bacterium that thrived in conditions that should have been impossible. Dr. Quan Park, our geologist, was ecstatic about the mineral formations we found. Even Captain Reyes seemed pleased with how smoothly the expedition was running. Then came day 32. I was operating the Abyss Seeker with Dr. Vasquez, descending to 10,700 meters, our deepest dive yet. The pressure at that depth is unimaginable, over 1,000 times the atmospheric pressure at sea level. It's a hostile, alien environment where few creatures can survive. We were about 4 hours into the dive when the sonar picked up something unusual. A massive structure that shouldn't have been there, couldn't have been there. The readings suggested it was roughly cylindrical, approximately 400 meters in length and 80 meters in diameter. "That can't be right," Elena said, tapping the sonar display. "Must be a malfunction." I recalibrated the system, but the readings remained the same. "Let's take a closer look." We adjusted our course, guided by the sonar. The floodlights of the Abyss Seeker cut through the perpetual darkness, but visibility was still limited to about 15 meters. As we approached the anomaly, I felt a growing sense of unease. There was something fundamentally wrong about finding a structure of this size at this depth. The first glimpse nearly stopped my heart. It was a submarine, or at least it had once been a submarine, but it was unlike any I'd ever seen. The design was strange, not quite modern, not quite historical. It appeared to be constructed of a dull, greenish metal that showed no signs of corrosion despite clearly having been there for a very long time. There were no visible markings, no flags, no identifying features of any kind. "This is impossible," Elena whispered, her voice barely audible over the hum of our life support systems. "How did something this size get down here without anyone knowing?" I had no answer. We circled the vessel, documenting it from every angle. The hull was intact, showing no signs of the catastrophic damage that would be expected if it had sunk. It appeared to have been deliberately placed on the ocean floor. That's when we noticed the hatch. It was open. "We should head back up," Elena said, and I could hear the fear in her voice. "Report this to the surface." I agreed, but as I turned the submersible away, our communication system crackled to life, not with the voice of our support team on the Mariana Explorer, but with something else entirely. A series of sounds, not quite language, not quite music, pulsed through our cabin. The sequence repeated 3 times before falling silent. Elena and I stared at each other, neither willing to acknowledge what we'd just heard. "Equipment malfunction," I said finally, though I didn't believe it. "Of course," she nodded too quickly. "Let's get back to the ship." The ascent took nearly 3 hours. We maintained radio silence, both lost in our thoughts. When we finally docked with the Mariana Explorer, the entire team was waiting for us, their faces etched with concern. "What happened down there?" Captain Reyes demanded. "We lost contact for almost 2 hours. Elena and I exchanged glances. "You didn't hear anything from us?" I asked. "Not a damn thing," Reyes replied. "Comms went dead around the 9-hour mark. We were about to launch a rescue buoy. We debriefed the team, showing them the footage we'd captured. The submarine, if that's what it was, provoked a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Dr. Park insisted it must be a previously unknown wreck, perhaps a secret military vessel. Dr. Chen, our marine archaeologist, argued it looked too pristine to have been there long. No one mentioned the strange transmission we'd received. I realized later that it wasn't on the recordings. Somehow, Elena and I were the only ones who had heard it. That night, I dreamed of the submarine. In my dream, I was swimming toward it without any protective gear, the crushing pressure somehow not affecting me. The open hatch beckoned, a mouth waiting to swallow me whole. As I approached, I could hear that same sequence of sounds emanating from within, louder now, more insistent. I woke up gasping, my sheets soaked with sweat. The next morning, Alina avoided me at breakfast. When I finally cornered her in the lab, her eyes were ringed with dark circles. "You heard it in your sleep too, didn't you?" I asked. She nodded, her hands trembling slightly as she arranged her samples. "It wants us to go back down." I couldn't argue with her. The same compulsion had been growing in me since we'd returned to the surface, an almost physical pull toward the depths, toward that open hatch. We presented our findings to the team, carefully editing our personal experiences. We proposed another dive to investigate the submarine more thoroughly. Captain Reyes was hesitant. The first dive had already pushed the limits of our equipment, but the potential scientific significance was too great to ignore. After some debate, it was decided that I would pilot the Abyss Seeker again, this time accompanied by Dr. Chen, whose expertise in marine archaeology made her the logical choice. The night before our scheduled dive, I found Alina in the ship's small observation deck, staring out at the black water. "I should be going with you," she said without turning around. "Chen's expertise is more relevant," I replied, though we both knew that wasn't the real reason. "It's calling to us specifically, Marcus." She finally looked at me, her face pale in the dim light. "You and me." "It knows we heard it." "That's not possible," I said, but my protest sounded hollow even to my own ears. "Be careful down there," she whispered. Don't go inside no matter what you hear." The dive began at 600 hours the next morning. Dr. Chen was professional and focused, reviewing her documentation equipment as we descended. She made no mention of strange transmissions or unusual dreams, and I began to hope that perhaps Alina and I had simply shared some kind of stress-induced hallucination. That hope died when we reached the submarine. It had moved, not far, perhaps 50 meters from its previous position, but there was no doubt it had moved. The sea floor around it showed signs of disturbance, long grooves in the silt indicating it had been dragged or had dragged itself. "That's odd," Dr. Chen remarked, studying the sonar readings. "The currents at this depth aren't strong enough to move something this size." I said nothing, maneuvering the Abyss Seeker closer. The open hatch seemed to watch us, a single dark eye in the green metal hull. "Can we get a look inside?" Chen asked, adjusting her camera. Every instinct screamed at me to refuse, to turn around and head for the surface. But the pull was stronger now, an almost physical sensation dragging me toward the submarine. I found myself positioning our vessel near the hatch, adjusting the external lights to peer inside. The beam penetrated only a few meters into the darkness. We could make out what appeared to be a corridor, the walls lined with the same strange metal as the hull. There were no signs of flooding, no evidence that the crushing pressure of the deep had affected the interior at all. "This is incredible," Chen breathed, capturing image after image. "The preservation is perfect. This could revolutionize our understanding of deep-sea engineering." As she spoke, the communication system crackled. I tensed, waiting for the strange sequence of sounds to begin again. Instead, we heard Captain Reyes' voice, distorted but recognizable. "Abyss Seeker, do you copy? We're picking up unusual seismic activity in your vicinity. Recommend immediate ascent." Chen looked at me, alarmed. "Seismic activity? We haven't felt anything down here." I checked our instruments. They showed no disturbances. "Captain, can you clarify the nature of the seismic readings?" The response was broken, fragments of words separated by static. "Not natural, pattern, surface immediately." Then the transmission cut out entirely. At the same moment, our external lights flickered and died, plunging us into the absolute darkness of the deep. Chen swore softly. "Backup systems." I was already activating them, but nothing responded. The only functioning systems were life support and internal power. We were blind and deaf in the deepest part of the ocean, floating beside a vessel that shouldn't exist. "We need to ascend," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "We can navigate by sonar," but the sonar was showing something impossible. According to the readings, the submarine was no longer beside us. It was now completely surrounding us. "That can't be right," Chen said, staring at the display. "The sonar must be malfunctioning too." Then we heard it, not through the communication system this time, but seemingly through the hull of the Abyss Seeker itself. The same sequence of sounds, but clearer now, more complex. Almost like language, Chen's eyes widened. "What is that?" Before I could answer, our vessel shuddered violently. We were moving, being pulled or pushed through the water. The sonar showed we were heading directly toward where the submarine's open hatch had been. "Something's got us," Chen cried, frantically trying to restart the engines. "We need to break free," but there was nothing we could do. The Abyss Seeker, one of the most advanced submersibles ever built, had been reduced to a passive shell. We were completely at the mercy of whatever force had seized us. The movement stopped as suddenly as it had begun. The sonar showed we were now inside a larger structure, inside the submarine. Impossibly, the readings suggested we were in a chamber large enough to accommodate our vessel with room to spare. "This isn't possible," Chen whispered, her scientific certainty crumbling in the face of the impossible. A submarine this old couldn't have a moon pool or docking bay. Our lights flickered back to life, revealing our surroundings. We weren't in a submarine at all, at least not one of human design. The chamber around us was vast, its walls covered in what looked like writing or symbols that shifted and changed as we watched. The material wasn't metal, as I'd first thought, but something organic, pulsing gently like living tissue. "My God," Chen breathed, "what is this place?" Before I could respond, a section of the wall parted, creating an opening. Through it stepped, I hesitate to call it a person. It had a humanoid shape, but its proportions were wrong, limbs too long, head too small. It wore what appeared to be a suit made of the same greenish material as the vessel's hull, with no visible helmet or breathing apparatus. It approached the Abyss Seeker slowly, movements fluid despite the crushing pressure outside. When it reached our viewport, it placed a six-fingered hand against the glass and leaned in. I will never forget its face. Almost human, but with eyes too large and entirely black, a nose that was merely two slits and no visible mouth. Yet somehow I knew it was smiling. The sequence of sounds filled our cabin again, but this time, impossibly, I understood them. "We have been waiting for you to return," Chen screamed. I might have too. The creature withdrew its hand and gestured toward the opening it had created. "What does it want?" Chen asked, her voice barely audible. "I think it wants us to go with it. We can't exit the submersible at this depth, we'd be crushed instantly." But as I watched the creature wait patiently by the opening, I wasn't so sure. Nothing about this situation followed the rules of physics or biology as we understood them. The next few hours were a blur of terror and wonder. Somehow, I still don't fully understand the mechanism, we were able to exit the Abyss Seeker without being destroyed by the pressure. The creature led us through corridors that seemed to shift and change as we walked, into chambers filled with technology that defied comprehension. There were others like our guide, dozens of them, all slightly different in appearance but clearly of the same species. They communicated with us through that strange sequence of sounds that somehow translated directly into thoughts in our minds. They showed us records, images, and information stored in ways I can't begin to describe of their civilization. They had been on Earth long before humans evolved, building cities in the deepest parts of the oceans where our species could never reach. They had watched our development with interest, occasionally making contact with ancient civilizations whose records of these encounters became the basis for myths about gods from the sea. Then, thousands of years ago, something had happened. A cataclysm, a war, a plague. The exact nature was unclear even in their records. Their numbers had dwindled. They had retreated further into the depths, into a kind of hibernation, waiting. Waiting for what? I asked, the thought forming in my mind and somehow being transmitted to them. "For the right ones," came the reply, "for those who can hear." They explained in their fashion that they had been reaching out, sending signals through the water, seeking minds that could receive them. Alina and I had been the first in centuries to respond. "What do you want from us?" I asked. The answer was simple and terrifying: continuation. They were dying out, their species was on the brink of extinction. They needed new genetic material, new minds to preserve their knowledge, their existence. They needed us. I looked at Chen, who stood frozen, her eyes wide with a mixture of awe and horror. She hadn't heard their call. She wasn't one of the right ones. I was, and Alina was. "We need to go back," I said, both to Chen and to our hosts. "Our colleagues will be looking for us." The creatures conferred among themselves, their thoughts a jumble that I could only partially comprehend. Finally, our original guide approached us. "You may return, but you must come back to us. Bring the other who hears. It is time for joining." We were escorted back to the Abyss Seeker. As we re-entered our vessel, I noticed changes, subtle modifications to our systems that I didn't understand. The creature placed its hand on the hull before retreating. "We have helped you. You will return safely. Then you will come back to us." The ascent was faster than should have been possible, the Abyss Seeker moving through the water with impossible speed. When we docked with the Mariana Explorer, we discovered we had been gone for over 30 hours, though it had felt like only a few. The team was in chaos. They had been unable to contact us, unable to launch a rescue. They had been on the verge of declaring us lost when our signals suddenly reappeared on their screens. Chen and I were immediately taken to the medical bay. We showed no signs of decompression sickness or other pressure-related injuries, which should have been impossible given our claims of having exited the submersible. Dr. Vasquez examined us personally, her face tight with worry. When we were finally alone, she leaned close to me. "You heard them again, didn't you? You understood them." I nodded, unable to lie to her. "They want us, Alina. Both of us, they're dying out and they think we can help them continue. And did you agree?" Her voice was neutral, her expression unreadable. "I told them we needed to return to the ship, but not that we wouldn't go back." I couldn't answer. The pull was still there, stronger now. A constant whisper at the back of my mind, urging me to return to the depths. Captain Reyes and the rest of the team were skeptical of our story. The footage from the Abyss Seeker showed only static during the critical period. Chen's account was disjointed, her memories already beginning to fade and distort. They attributed our experiences to oxygen deprivation, hallucinations caused by extreme pressure. They decided to terminate the expedition early. The unexplained seismic activity, our disappearance, the equipment malfunctions, it was too risky to continue. We would begin our return journey to Guam the following day. That night, Alina came to my cabin. She sat on the edge of my bed, her eyes reflecting the dim light from my desk lamp. "They're still calling," she said. It wasn't a question. "Yes, and you want to answer." I closed my eyes. "Part of me does, part of me is terrified." She took my hand. Her skin was cool and dry. "They showed you things, didn't they? Their civilization, their knowledge." "Yes, it's beyond anything we could imagine. What would happen to us?" "If we went back," I hesitated. "They talked about joining, I think they want to merge with us somehow, use our genetic material, our minds. We would cease to be human." "Yes. But we would be part of something ancient and incredible." Alina was silent for a long moment, then she stood, still holding my hand. "Come with me." She led me through the silent ship to the launch bay where the Abyss Seeker was docked. The submersible looked different somehow, the metal gleaming with an iridescence it hadn't possessed before. "They modified it," Alina whispered, "made it capable of reaching them safely." "We can't just take it," I protested, though weakly. "The others won't understand, can't understand, they can't hear the call, Marcus." She was right, and the pull was so strong now, a physical ache in my chest. The thought of returning to land, of never seeing the creatures again, of ignoring their call for the rest of my life. It was unbearable. We prepared the Abyss Seeker for launch. The systems responded to our touch in new ways, interfaces changing to accommodate commands we somehow knew how to give. We worked in near silence, communicating more through shared intention than words. As we prepared to detach from the Mariana Explorer, Alina paused, her hand hovering over the final control. "Are we making a mistake?" she asked, her voice small. I thought of the world above, its noise, its pollution, its endless conflicts. I thought of my small apartment, my academic papers that few would read, the future stretching out in predictable patterns. Then I thought of the depths of the ancient civilization waiting for us, of knowledge and existence beyond human understanding. "I don't know," I answered honestly, "but I know I can't ignore this call." She nodded, decision made. "Neither can I." The Abyss Seeker detached with barely a sound. We descended rapidly, the modified systems taking us down faster than should have been possible. The pull grew stronger with every meter, the call more clear. We found the vessel easily, guided by signals only we could perceive. The hatch was waiting, open like a mouth ready to receive us. As we approached, I felt a moment of pure clarity. This was no random encounter. Our expedition, our specific assignment to this location, our receptivity to their signals, none of it was coincidence. They had been influencing events, subtly guiding human activity for centuries, waiting for the right moment, the right minds. The Abyss Seeker slipped into the waiting chamber like a child returning to the womb. As the walls closed around us, I turned to Alina. Her eyes reflected the strange bioluminescence of our surroundings, her expression a mixture of fear and wonder that I'm sure mirrored my own. "Whatever happens," I said, "we're about to become part of something ancient and incredible. Or we're about to die," she replied with a small smile. "Perhaps both." The chamber pressurized, the hatch of the Abyss Seeker opened. Our hosts waited, their alien forms somehow less frightening now, more familiar. "You have returned," they communicated. "Now we can begin." Alina took my hand as we stepped out of the submersible for the last time. The creatures surrounded us, their thoughts merging with ours, showing us what was to come. Not death, not exactly, but transformation, evolution, continuation. That was 47 days ago. I still exist in a way. My consciousness persists, though the body that houses it is no longer entirely human. The joining was not what I expected, neither a complete loss of self nor a simple coexistence. I am still Marcus Lindholm, but I am also something more, something older. Alina is with me, her mind touching mine in ways impossible to describe. We are learning, growing, becoming part of the ancient cycle of this deep-dwelling civilization. Sometimes I wonder about the Mariana Explorer, about the team we left behind. Did they search for us? Did they report our disappearance? Do they think we died in the crushing depths? In a way, I suppose we did. But here, in the eternal darkness of the ocean's deepest trench, surrounded by knowledge and life forms that humanity has never suspected, I find I don't regret our choice. The pull that brought us here has transformed into a sense of purpose, of belonging. The creatures, my new family, are preparing for a journey, not up to the surface but deeper still, to places hidden beneath the Earth's crust where their main civilization dwells. There are more of them than I initially thought, thousands living in elaborate cities constructed in caverns no human has ever seen. Soon, we will leave this vessel, this outpost, and travel to join them. Elena and I will be the first humans to see these hidden realms, though by then I'm not sure human will be the right word for what we've become. I can feel the changes accelerating within me. My perception expanding, my understanding deepening. The fear is gone now, replaced by anticipation. Whatever I am becoming, whatever waits in the darkness below, I go to it willingly. The depths have called, and I have answered. And in the silence of the deep, that is enough.